I have so many pens. Hey there, it's Elisa, but of course you can call me Ellie. I love how I'm trying really hard to make it look like I'm not filming a ton of videos all on the same day. But if you're noticing that I look exactly the same in the past few times that you've seen me, that is no coincidence. So here's the thing. I have some favorites when it comes to pens. There's the Papermate InkJoy Gel, the classic Pilot G2, and the Uniball Signo DX size 0.38. Then there's some felt tip pens that I like. You gotta love the Papermate Flair, the classic STAEDTLER pens, STAEDTLER? Then there's the STABILO. I never figured out how to say that one. And those are just my favorites. There's pens that I've had for years that I've never really used, and there's probably some that I would love using. I just haven't really tried them yet. And I could probably stand to get rid of some. So I have an idea. What if I swatch all of my pens? That way I can decide, is it a pen I want to keep, that I want to donate, or maybe just throw away? I'm sure I have a lot of dried up pens at this point. It seemed like a great idea at first. Maybe there's some new favorites in there waiting to be discovered. And then I looked at how many pens I actually have. But I've already committed to the idea, so you know what? We're gonna go with it. Let's swatch all of my pens. All right, so I have pens like all over the place, but I have a few of these like pen portfolio book things from Amazon that I use to store any big collections of pens that I have. So anything where I've got like a pack of multicolored pens or something like that, I'll keep in here just because that way I can keep the like pens together and then also organize it by color, which is just really like pleasing to me. But then I also have these random bags of just loose pens, and so this is kind of what I want to avoid moving forward. So I do want to thin out some of the pen collections, but I especially want to get rid of any of these loose pens that I don't want anymore and just keep a few that are kind of my go-to tried and true pens, just like on a single container on my desk and not have a bunch of pens kind of floating around everywhere. So once this is all said and done, I want any loose pens that don't fit in those portfolio cases to just be in this one place, and it's this old Garrett popcorn tin that I literally got because I wanted to put pens in here. That's why I got this specific tin. So this is what we're going to do. I want to swatch every single one of the pens that I have, just so that, first of all, I can see if there's anything that's not worth keeping. But I wanted a place to keep those pen swatches with me so that I can refer back to them to kind of have like a catalog of what I have available, just because sometimes it's hard to tell the quality of a pen just by looking at it, or like the exact color just by looking at the barrel. So I want something that I can go back and flip through and see what the actual ink and stroke looks like for each pen. So I wasn't 100% sure what I was doing when I made these, but I did the best that I could, and then I just printed them on just regular printer paper. I made a couple of different options. So my thinking here was I wanted some pages to have swatches where if I knew the name of the color of the pen, I had a little line where I can write that color in it. But if I didn't have a color or a description or anything, I still wanted a type of page where I could swatch pens and group them together by type or something. I didn't use that kind as often though, so I mostly stuck with this type of page where I could swatch a color and then write the name of the color next to it. I did do my best to try to find the accurate name of each color for each pen, but some colors are more available than others, so for some types of pens, I couldn't use this kind of page, but I did my best. That being said, if you see that I mislabeled a certain color, please let me know and correct me down in the comments below. Some of the colors weren't really available on like the official brand website, so I just had to go off of like various blogs and stuff to the best of my abilities. But okay, so here first we're just going through my Papermate InkJoy Gel pens. For some of these, like this cocoa brown color or Cocoa Delight, I have quite a few of the same color, so for some of them I swatched all of the different pens in that color, and I just decided to keep one or two in that color and then get rid of the other one, either just by throwing it away or donating it, depending on how good the quality is of the one that I wasn't keeping. Some of them though, I have more than others. So like this red pen, it comes in almost every like combination pack that you can get. Same thing with this pink color. If you get, you know, any like group of the Papermate InkJoy gels, there's a good chance that you'll get one of these three colors, the Red Rush, the Pink Pop, and the Wild Berry. Some of them though, like this pink topaz, are a little bit more rare, and you can only get it in like one or two specific kinds of like multi-packs, and those are a little bit more difficult to get a hold of. The purple one, another really common one. So a lot of these where I have a lot of the same color are like me just being obsessive with buying this type of pen, and then accidentally collecting way too much of a certain color. This is another one of my favorites in this type of pen, is this amethyst color. I think it's just the most beautiful purple color. But just like the pink topaz, I've only been able to get my hands on one pack that had that color in it, unfortunately. Whereas like this baby blue, there's like a ton of them. So I am going to be getting rid of a lot here, but I have so many of these pens because they are one of my favorites and everyone knows that they're my favorite. So sometimes if like a friend or a family member is at the store, they'll pick me up a pack, which I do appreciate, but now I just have kind of an overload of some of these colors. Most of these pinks and blues I really do like, but I'm about to get into the yellows and greens here pretty soon, which I don't like as much, and I definitely don't need multiples of those colors. But one of the reasons why I really love the Papermate InkJoy Gel is because of the shape of the barrel. You can see that I hold my pen really low and really close to the tip. And so anything that has like a grip on it, or like those like hand guards on it where it's like cushier where your fingers are supposed to go, I usually hold like the very edge of those, and it's actually not as comfortable for me. So with these Papermate InkJoy gels, they're all just kind of like a solid tube with a very small seam where the tip screws on and off. So it's really comfortable for me to write. They're a little bit fat to hold, but it's not too bad. And they're pretty smooth with writing, and they dry so quickly. So I do know some left-handed people do also really like these pens just because they dry so quickly, and they don't smear as bad as some other gel pens out there. I also like the wide variety of colors, so I think I have almost all of the colors. There's still a couple that I don't have, but for the most part, I have all of them. But here are all of the extras that I'm getting rid of, which is quite a few. And then here are all of the colors that I have so far. All right, moving to the Pilot G2 pen, another fan favorite, I think. I have quite a few of these kind of lying around everywhere. These have been a favorite of mine since college, so I have them kind of stored all over the place. So I do love these pens. They come in a huge variety of colors and different types of colors. So there are some pastels and neon colors in this type of pen that the Papermate InkJoy Gel just doesn't have. So with some of these, they are so light that I did have to get out some scrap black paper to swatch them on, just because they don't show up on white paper like that white gel pen. I do really like the Pilot G2 white gel. It's one of my favorites to use if I'm going to be needing white ink, if I'm going to be writing on darker paper. But some of these other colors look really great on dark paper as well. There's a pastel collection and a neon collection that look really great on the black paper, and some of these metallics look really good on black paper too. So if I'm doing a project with black paper or like a darker paper, the Pilot G2 is probably one of the pens that I'm going to be grabbing for. And also because of the wide variety of colors. There's a lot of different shades for each color. So for example, yellow, there's a pastel yellow that you'll see here, looks really great on black paper, but there's also a neon yellow, and then I think just like a regular yellow as well, in addition to that gold, which I consider kind of a shade of yellow. So there's a lot of variety there. One thing that I'm not a fan of though with the Pilot G2s is that little like rubber grip thing that is supposed to make it more comfortable to grip and hold the pen, but just with the way that I hold pens, it's not a good fit for me. So where like the Papermate InkJoy Gel pens were just like a long tube that was easy for me to hold, these have that grippy thing where my fingers are grabbing onto the pen right at the very lip of that rubber grip thingy. And so it's just not comfortable for me to write with these pens, which is a shame because if they were more comfortable, I would probably, this would probably be like a hands down favorite pen. It's just actually holding it and writing with it that isn't comfortable for me. So I don't use these for things like journaling, but if it's just writing something down in my planner or something, these are a great option for me. This pink color is a newer color for me. I was pretty sure that it was called a coral pink, but after some research online, I'm pretty sure the actual official color is salmon pink, so I do go back and change that here soon. So if you're looking for that specific color pink and you try to find coral pink, you'll probably find it, but you'll probably have an easier time if you look up salmon pink G2. I don't know. But maybe one of the reasons why I like the Pilot G2 is because of how many different shades of pink pens there are. So there's just like the standard pink and then the coral pink and then metallic, neon, and pastel. And then this pastel purple is so pretty, but I have never found a pastel purple Pilot G2. Well, say that 5 times fast. A pastel purple Pilot G2 that writes super well. So I've had a couple of the pastel purple color and they all skip pretty bad. So I don't know if it's whatever the stuff is that make that color or what. But this iris blue is another one of my favorites. Now, everywhere that I looked online said that the color of that pen is iris blue, but I'm pretty sure that it's purple. So I kind of put it in the middle of my little like purple and blue sections because it's called blue, but I'm convinced that it's purple. And I like the color. I think that's a beautiful color, but irises are also my favorite flower. So it's all around one of my favorite pens. So I actually got some more of those recently. Also, side note, that periwinkle color, again, everywhere that I look, it says that that's periwinkle, but I think it's a light blue. And to me, periwinkle is a little bit more purple colored, but whatever. So there are so many of Pilot G2 colors that I actually had to use the back side of this page, and I don't think I have all of the colors. I still think that there's a couple out there that are available in the US that I don't have, so I'm working on getting some of those. I did get some new ones recently, so I was able to score a couple of the colors that I was missing, but honestly, I just got those. And it's been a little while since I actually filmed this little pen swatch thing. I've been editing this footage for quite some time. So what you're seeing here is my pen collection as of the beginning of December 2023. So I'm even missing some of my newest colors in this little pen swatch situation here. But even still, as of the time of this voiceover recording, there's still a couple that I'm missing, but this is almost every color. These next pens are the Uniball Signo DX in 0.38. They're actually a bit of a more recent favorite of mine. I typically don't prefer to write with such a fine tip. I just don't really like how it feels as much, but with the way that I do functional planning recently, I really need something that takes up smaller space as I'm writing. And this Uniball Signo DX collection, I guess, or pen type, has really kind of made me appreciate the finer tips more. They write really smoothly and there are so many colors. I haven't found any other pens that has this small of a tip. with this variety of colors. So the only problem is that they're not as easy to find. Any of these more obscure colors outside of just like black are ones that I've gotten from like third-party sellers, and sometimes you don't really know what you're getting. But overall, the actual pen itself is excellent. It does have that little rubber grippy thing, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's relatively smooth, and it's not too uncomfortable for me. And usually when I'm writing with these pens, it is just for my planner, and so it's just a few words at a time. I'm not going to write like a whole journal entry or anything using these pens, because still at the end of the day, if I'm going to be writing for a while, I do prefer a thicker tipped pen. But for what they are, these work really nice. There are some colors that I've noticed that tend to write smoother than others. The black one is really great. For some reason, the light beige and the gray don't typically seem to write as smoothly for me. I don't know if it's just because maybe they're older colors, and so the ones that I'm getting aren't newer, but they write just fine. It's just not as smooth as some of the others. I did end up actually getting new versions of a lot of these pens for Christmas, just because these original ones, some of them are really struggling. Some of them are nice, but my favorite colors like the grays were really having a hard time. So I'm definitely grateful that I was able to get some updated versions of some of these pens since the recording of this video. But I am still pretty new to the thin tip pen world, so if any of you watching this know of any pens that have this small of a tip with this variety of colors, comment down below. I'm interested. As far as I can tell, most pens with this small of a tip, anything that's like under a 0.5, seem to have pretty limited colors. I really do appreciate just how many different colors there are for this pen, because these are my preferred pens for color coding in my planner or just using in my regular kind of day-to-day functional planner. Color coding is a pretty big deal to me, especially when it comes to functional planning. I made a whole video about it. If you haven't watched that yet, I'll try to remember to link it down in the description box below so you can check that out. But it is nice when I have a wide variety of different colors to pick from when it comes to color coding, because color coding to me is mostly helpful functionally, but also a little bit just like aesthetically as well. And so I hate getting backed into a corner of choosing a specific color for a certain thing and that color not being a color that I actually enjoy. So especially these last few pens that are shades of purple and pink, obviously pink and purple are my favorite colors. So I like that there's so many different shades of those, and there's 2 different gray pens to choose from for this Uniball Signo DX in the 0.38 size, which I appreciate because gray is typically my go-to pen for just writing standard notes and stuff. So these ones kind of actually surprised me. I think they're called art alternatives. There's clearly quite a few, and I don't know as much about them, so we're just gonna speed through them a little smidgen. But these I got from my grandma one year for Christmas. And the box is kind of fallen apart, and she said that she got them from like the clearance section or something at a craft store. And so I really didn't have too high of expectations for these. I'm sure that I pulled a couple out and tested them when I first got them. And you can see that some of them struggle a little bit. They're drying up a little, and there's like bubble sections in the ink, but I think part of that is just because I have had these for a couple of years at this point, and they've been sitting in this box, and I'm sure they've been sitting upright like that for quite some time throughout the years. So I'm sure that the issues that we're seeing here are actually mostly probably my fault, but overall, I really hadn't gotten too into these pens, just because they didn't seem like they would be that great. And honestly, the actual pens themselves feel kind of cheap. Like the plastic seems really flimsy. But when I was going through and swatching these pens, I was super surprised at how much I actually liked them. Outside of the couple that were having a little bit of trouble, again, which I blame myself for. But there's such a huge variety of colors, which obviously I like, and they write really well. Holding the pen, it feels kind of cheap, but actually writing them with them, they're pretty smooth. And all of the colors, they saturate really well. I don't know if that's the way to describe a pen, but you know what I mean? Like sometimes when you have a really cheap pen, it seems like there just isn't enough ink coming out. And so these, they like flowed really well. They didn't feel scratchy at all, except for the ones that were drying up, which there was really only a couple. And I was surprised at the different types of ink as well. Kind of like the Pilot G2, where there are a majority of those kind of standard gel inks, where it's kind of that kind of opaque, kind of translucent, traditional, I guess what you would think of when you think of like a gel pen color. But then there were the pastels and neon colors, which I've noticed tend to be a little bit milkier when it comes to gel pens, and they write really well on black paper. And there were a lot of different types of metallics. So there were a lot of metallic colors that weren't just silver and gold. And then there was even some glitter metallics, which I had never seen before in a pen. Usually you either get a glitter color or you get a metallic. And there were some of all three types in this pack. So in this one box of pens, we have kind of the general traditional gel type, and then there were pastel colors, which seemed, as far as I can tell, to be able to write on dark paper, like black paper, really well. And there were neon colors and metallics and glitters and glitter metallics. So overall, these are actually pretty great pens, I say, as I struggle with this last dried up one. But forget these couple that I ruined. I really do like these art alternatives. So comment down below if you've ever used art alternative gel pens. The Sakura Jelly Roll Pen. These probably don't need an introduction. They've been around in some way or fashion for forever. When you think of gel pen, this is probably the type of pen that you're thinking of. The Jelly Roll is a classic. I think one of the reasons why they're so beloved is just because a lot of the ink is so thick and opaque. It glides super smooth when you write it, and so it's really beautiful to write with. It feels like it's just like water. And then because it's such thick, opaque gel, it writes really well on a lot of different types of paper, and a lot of different colors of paper. So some gel pens, do really well on white paper, but maybe not so much on black paper or textured paper. But the Jelly Roll seems to do relatively well with a wide variety of papers. The only problem is that they do smudge pretty easily when you first write with them, so you do need to make sure that they're pretty dry before you put anything over that ink again. At least compared to some other pens like the Papermate InkJoy Gel. But overall, super classic. I'm pretty surprised with how few colors I have of the Jelly Rolls currently. I'm sure I've had like dozens and dozens over the years. Like I remember having these as a kid. I even had like a Jelly Roll branded notebook that was this really vibrant dark blue paper, and it was designed for the neon colors and to make them kind of pop on paper more than they would on just standard white paper. So And that was back when I was like, I don't know, like 5. Like I was barely able to write, and I was writing in this Jelly Roll notebook. So they've definitely been around for a while. As far as I'm aware, there's just like the standard colors that it comes in, and then there's metallic ink, and the metallics are beautiful. It's not just silver and gold, there's a wide variety. And then there's the Moonlight collection, which is basically all of the neon or fluorescent colors. And then my favorite is actually these Stardust pens. It doesn't show up, or it doesn't pick up as well on camera, but they are, I think, the best glitter gel pens out there. The glitter is like the perfect texture. It's not so fine that it looks like it's metallic, but it's not so thick that it's chunky, because if glitter is too chunky, it'll just like flake off, or it'll make the pen skip as you're writing. But not these Stardust pens. It's just the most perfect, I don't know, it's the perfect glitter pen. If you don't believe me, definitely go get some. And it will change your life if you love glitter and gel pens. All right, getting into kind of my miscellaneous gel pens. I don't want to spend too much time on any of these since they're not really my favorites, and they're all pretty old, and I don't know if they're still available anyways. First up are these Up and Up brand, which was like an old Target brand, I believe. I used to get them at Target all the time, and I don't think they sell them anymore, unfortunately. They used to be my favorite gel pens, but I can't get them anymore. So, and I do prefer the Jelly Rolls now. I also have plenty of scented gel pens. So first up are these Scribble Stuff pens. They come in all different colors, but 3 different scents. So there's either this Sea Breeze, which is kind of the bluish colors. There's Citrus Harvest, which is kind of a lemony lime scent, which are like, I don't know, neon, I guess. And then there's Blooming Florals, which is basically just rose, and they're like the purples and the reds. These are pretty old. The rose one is the only scent that still has kind of stuck around. With these Scentos, they're also pretty old, and they don't have any color descriptors or any like scent descriptors, so honestly, I don't know what they are. And then here's like a giant bundle of pens that I have in a bag. I tried to make sense of them as best I could for the sake of these little swatch papers, but I don't know what any of the colors are, and they're all pretty old and not writing too well, so we're just kind of zipping through these. But I did want to at least show you that I have them. These Take Note pens actually, I think, are Crayola, maybe? I don't know, but they actually wrote relatively well. Okay, so now we're getting into my felt tip pens. Or are these Papermate Flairs in the size medium? Do these count as pens? They're kind of pens, they're kind of markers. I used to be obsessed with these, but like a lot of the things that I really enjoy, I didn't use them because I was scared to use them because I liked them so much, and now most of them are dried up and I don't really care for them as much as I used to. I do really love all of the colors, and it feels like they're always coming out with new colors, but it's just such a fat tip. I have a hard time finding uses for these, so they're still like kind of near and dear to my heart, but in reality, I just don't use them that much. So lesson learned, if you really like something and you really enjoy it and you have it available, don't be afraid to use it. It's there to be used. And then otherwise you might risk the thing getting old and unusable, or you just not liking it anymore. But oh well. I do think I have a majority of at least the original colors of these Papermate Flairs. But some of the new colors I don't believe I have. The completionist in me really wants to go out and buy all of the colors that I don't have, but I don't even use these colors. So I think I'm going to try to talk myself out of this and just stick with the colors that I have. And clearly some of these are just really old and not writing too well. So after this, I did end up having to throw some of them away, and then I'll just use the rest of them until they're no good anymore, and probably won't buy anymore unless I have a specific reason to buy something like this. But they're just They're perfect because they're right in between a marker and a pen, but I don't use them because they're somewhere in between a marker and a pen. So okay, so now we're going to get into what may be my largest collection so far, which is the STAEDTLER Triplus Fineliners. These are a relatively thin-tipped felt tip pen, and they were kind of my first introduction into felt-tipped pens of this kind of color variety. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, I haven't done a ton of research or anything, but I'm guessing that there aren't too many other felt tipped pens of this size that has this extensive of a color variety, which is why I'm guessing they're kind of a fan favorite. I did hear about these on Instagram back in the day. I haven't heard too much about them since, so I don't know if their popularity has died down over the past 3, 4, 5 years, however long I've had these. Or if I'm just not following the same kind of stuff anymore with the amount of times that Instagram has changed their algorithm. But these are really great. They write really well. Like I said, I have had these for quite some time, and I haven't noticed any issues with them drying out or anything. And they seem to last relatively long. Some of these pens I haven't used too much, but some of them I've used quite a bit, and they still seem to be writing relatively well. So their longevity, I guess, is good. But I don't use them as often as I would like, just because I am always really cautious about using felt tip pens, just because I do press really hard when I write, and I'm always worried that I'm going to smush the tip of a felt tip pen, which does tend to happen. I haven't noticed it with these too much, so they do hold up better than maybe some other felt tip pens, but I have noticed that some of the ones that I like to use the most are getting a little bit smushy. So they're definitely holding up better than I would think that they would, but in the end, they are still felt tip pens, and felt tip pens are going to do what felt tip pens do, I suppose. But I also have a difficult time using them functionally, like in my functional planner, just because I do use whiteout so much, which you probably know if you've been watching any of my planner videos. And with as much as I use whiteout in my decorative or memory keeping planners, I use it even more in my regular kind of functional daily planner. And felt tip pens just don't write over whiteout as well as gel pens do, whether that be like the whiteout tape stuff or like the actual ink or like paint type whiteout that you use like with the sponge or the pen. Felt tip pens just don't write over that as well. It tends to like sink into the whiteout instead of drying on top of it like a gel pen does. So I do have to stay away from these for most of my planning, which is a shame because I would love to have access to this huge of a variety of colors. I don't think any of my gel pens come in this many colors. Maybe the Pilot G2 comes kind of close to the number of colors, but not really. So it is a shame. If any of you you regularly use either this specific type of pen or just felt tip pens in general, comment down below. I'm curious, how does that go for you? Do you tend to have any problems with pressing too hard or anything, or running into whiteout issues? But one thing that you'll actually notice with these pens is that they have an interesting shaped barrel. I don't even know if barrel is the right word for it, but it's the like outside pen part. So it's like this triangular shape sort of. So there's 3 sides with really rounded corners. So by looking at it from far away, it looks like just a regular cylinder shape, but up close you'll notice that there are definitely 3 sides. You can kind of tell if you see the top of the cap a little bit. So it does make holding the pen a little bit unique. It's not so exaggerated that it bothers me at all. But if you are very particular about how your pens feel in your hand, keep that in mind. If you choose some of these STAEDTLER Triplus Fineliners, that, you know, they aren't a smooth outside. They do have 3 distinct sides. It does make it nice though that they don't roll off the table as well, just because there are almost flat. I don't know if any of the sides are like perfectly flat, but it definitely doesn't roll around. So I guess that's nice if you have cats like me who like to bat pens off of tables, or if you're just writing something on an incline. At least that's nice. And then there are like horizontal lines in the pen barrel or the pen casing as well. So it's not smooth if you were to run your finger up and down the pen. So that's also something to keep in mind. Speaking of not perfectly smooth or cylindrical pens, next up we have the STABILO, STABILO. They're a hexagonal shape. These are fun because they kind of look like a number 2 pencil, but they're a pen. I do really enjoy these. They tend to have a harder tip, I feel like, when writing, so I feel like I have to be a little less delicate when writing with these, and they come in a huge variety of colors. I just don't have as many. These ones you can pick up at a lot of craft stores and just pick out single colors and buy them individually, which is what I did here. These were my go-to pen for a planner a while back, so I only picked the colors that I wanted to use for that specific planner and just haven't gone back to get any more, just because, again, I don't use felt tip pens as much, so I just haven't had the need to. These Le Pen brand are new to me, actually. I saw them in Target, I think it was, the other day. And I fell in love with the colors. It's a really cool case too, but it was a little complicated. But I know I probably shouldn't be buying any more pens at this point, but I just thought that the colors were so pretty, and I was really excited to see that the ink color is pretty true to the color on the outside. The pen is relatively small compared to the other felt tip pens that I have. They're a lot shorter, but there's some weight to them. They feel really luxurious as I'm holding them. And they write relatively smoothly, and the tip isn't too soft, so I'm not going to write as hard as I would with like a gel pen, but I don't feel like I have to be too delicate with them. And just look at all the colors. They're just so pretty. Oh, I love them. All right, these big intensity pens are going to be the last ones that I show you. I like them so much. I have 2 packs of them. I'm not usually a big pen fan, but these felt tips are actually really great in my opinion. The tips are nice and durable, even though they are felt tips. There's not a lot of colors, but I do really like the colors to choose from. I like that there's a fine tip and a medium tip for each color, so that's fun to play around with. And they last forever. I've had these for years and I still haven't run out, and I use them all the time. But we have made it to the end, my friends, if you can believe it. This is all of my pens, and I do have to admit, I did swatch some extra markers and things off camera, but for the most part, you have now seen all of my pens, which is quite a bit. Right now, I think I'm going to keep these pages in this memory keeping planner. I don't want to keep them in there forever, since this planner is going to be for memory keeping pages, but it's the best place that I can think of to put them for now. I have this divider, tabbed divider thing. I've had it for a while. I don't remember where I got it, but I'm pretty sure it's Happy Planner brand. My cats unfortunately have chewed the corner a little bit, so I don't use it too often. But it'll do. It'll help keep these pages separated from the rest of the memory keeping planner for now, which is what I need until I figure out what to do with these, because I like the idea of having them in a planner. I just don't know which planner, because there's too many pages to fit in my functional planner at the moment. So this is where these pages will live for now. So now I just have to figure out what all I'm doing with all these extra pens. But thank you so much for watching this video and coming along on this journey with me. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye! good and staying out of the way for so long. Dang it.